What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. Welcome back to another episode of the Premier League SPUR-SPECTIVE, where we take a look at the weekend's games, where me and my brother go head-to-head in predicting the weekend's games. And the way the scoring works is 5 points for a correct scoreline, 3 points for a correct result, and both teams to score 1 point for a correct result, and the star man as well, which is 2 points for a goal and 1 point for an assist. The scores on the doors at the moment are 301 to Sim, 292 to me. The gap was around 35 points at one stage. I have closed it, and let's see what happens this week. And let's start off with Leicester against Leeds, which finished 1-0 to Leicester at the King Power. Sim going 2-1. I went 3-1, but it was 1-0, so that's a point each. And Leicester, good value for their win, weren't they?
Do you think so? I think they were. I think they were lucky. I think Leeds should have got something. I think Leeds created some really good chances. Yeah, they had some. They had some really good. Rafinha missing a point blank range shot from just inside the 6-yard box.
I thought Leeds were all right, like keeping it tight at the back, but I still think Leicester were the better team on the day.
Really, I didn't feel like. I feel like they just had one moment. Harvey Barnes slotted it home. And I felt like Leeds probably walk away from that feeling a bit disappointed that they didn't win. That's why, from what I saw. So I think Jesse March will be a bit annoyed. He didn't get anything in his first game, but I thought it was an encouraging display. I thought against Leicester. And
Leicester now back-to-back wins now, starting to get to grips with things again.
Yeah, just in time to play the Arsenal.
Exactly.
Perfect timing.
All right, let's move on. Aston Villa against Southampton, which finished 4-0 to Aston Villa on the day. Both of us going for draws. Sim going 1-1. I went 2-2, but really one for the form books, a turn for the form books, wasn't it? Because Southampton have been on massively good form, winning a lot of games. Aston Villa have been stuttering of late, but that wasn't the case this week, was it?
Annihilated them. Absolutely annihilated. I was watching it, and Southampton barely had a chance. It was one of those where Southampton were kind of just a bit off it, you know, and when they play such an intense pressing game, and if they're off it a bit, when you've got the likes of Ings and Watkins and Coutinho around, they have the ability to destroy you, and it's exactly what happened. They opened them up time and time again. Coutinho was just the hub of everything Villa were doing, and he ripped them to shreds. I think Watkins opened the scoring. Coutinho got a goal in there. I can't remember who else scored, but it was an annihilation.
Watkins, Ings scored.
Ings got a goal as well,
yeah.
And Coutinho got one. They just annihilated them, and I was quite surprised. I really thought Southampton would get something out of this game. But credit to Villa, they turned up, and that front three looked really clicked. And when they clicked, they looked dynamite.
Absolutely. It was Douglas Luiz who got the other one as well, yeah. But moving on to Burnley against Chelsea. Both of us going 1-0 to Chelsea. It did finish 4-0 to Chelsea. Just a resolute performance from Chelsea, really. 4-0. I didn't see much of the game, but I just saw the goals flying in. And good result for Chelsea away at Burnley at Turf Moor, who've been a hard nut to crack of late.
Yeah, I think it was it 0-0 at half time, I think, even.
Was,
and then you're thinking, it's a tight game. And they just ran riot in the end. Kai Havertz getting a couple of goals, Reece James on the score sheet, and Pulisic rounding it off after a terrible mistake from Tarkowski. And Burnley now 2 defeats on the trot. And that, with the form they're in, that'll be a very disappointing step, even if it is against Leicester and Burnley and Chelsea. They'll be very disappointed with that. But there's plenty of games left. With Everton in the form they are, they're only a point behind them. Even though they've played a game more, they'll still see that as an opportunity to climb out the table.
Yeah. All right, so 3 points each for us on that one. Let's move over to Newcastle against Brighton, which finished 2-1 to Newcastle, and the Newcastle train keeps going. Unbelievable form they're on. Both of us going 1-1, but Newcastle, I think they were 2-0 up within 10 minutes or something in this one. Completely blew Brighton. I didn't see much of it, but from the way it went, it seems like they just completely blew Brighton away in the first 10 minutes, and Brighton just tried their best to get back in it, and Lewis Dunk getting a consolation in the second half.
Yeah, and they tried to get back in it, but they never really threatened Newcastle after going 2-1 up, and it was another very good win for Newcastle. Even without Trippier, everyone thought they might struggle a bit, but they keep going from strength to strength. Eddie Howe's doing a fantastic job, isn't he, at the moment for Newcastle. They're steering themselves well clear of the relegation zone, and they look like they're going to be safe, which is unfortunate for the rest of the Premier League next season when they're going to have all that money to spend. Not going to be in the Championship, it looks like, but fair play to Eddie Howe. That team yesterday if you look at that team on paper, really is nothing great, but he's getting a lot out of them. And
Yeah,
you know,
credit to him.
Brighton, what was that, 4 defeats now on the trot?
Is
I
that
think.
right? 4 defeats on the trot for Brighton.
Yeah, 4 defeats now on the trot for Brighton, and they're in a lot of trouble. Tottenham's come very soon as well.
Wow.
So exactly, they got the next 2 games are Liverpool and Tottenham. So we could be facing them on the back of 5 straight defeats.
I don't want that.
We could be.
I really don't.
Probably
want
will
that.
be.
I really don't want that because you know what will happen. You just know what will happen. But anyway, well, actually, looking at the table as well, they're only a space above each other. Brighton are only 1 space above Newcastle in the league now.
Yeah, they've fallen hard, haven't they? Still 5 points between them, isn't there?
But still, you know, after the next 2 games, it could be. You're saying they got Liverpool and Tottenham in the next 2 games. If they lose those next 2 games and Newcastle get positive results,
Yeah, but Newcastle have Chelsea and Everton. Yeah.
well, they could get 3 points against Everton, maybe not against Chelsea. But anyway, 0 points for us on that one. Norwich against Brentford, which was a big game down at the bottom of the table, finished 3-1 to Brentford. Sim going for 2-1 to Brentford. I went for 2-1 to Norwich. And Ivan Toney getting a hat-trick with 2 penalties, and Christian Eriksen starting his first game for Brentford. And from what I hear, it was a really good display from Eriksen, which is great to hear.
Yeah, he played really well. Another really positive display. I think one of the goals came from a corner. Ivan Toney getting a hat-trick, 2 from the penalty spot and 1 from a corner as well. And it was easy pickings for Brentford. I don't think it was the best display in the world. I think they dominated Norwich and deserved the victory. But, you know, 2 goals coming from penalties. It wasn't like it was scintillating football that got them the win. It was just pretty poor defending from Norwich overall. Norwich had a late rally and got a late consolation, but it wasn't enough. And they're now 5 points away from 17th placed Everton, with having played 2 games more than them. So they're
3 games more actually than Everton.
Oh, it says 2 here. They're on 27. Everton on 25.
I've got 28 for Brentford.
Sorry, I'm looking at Norwich.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Brentford have played 2 games more. Yeah, 3 games more. Norwich, I'm saying Norwich not looking good now for relegation at all.
I think we've been saying it all season that Norwich are.
That's 4 straight defeats for them as well now.
Yeah,
so
I think Norwich are gone, to be honest. I think Norwich and Watford, I don't really have much hope for either of them.
Their only hope is they're 6 points behind Leeds, same games played, so they maybe can catch Leeds. But Everton is looking like precarious, looking like they can't. They got a game in hand on Brentford, but they're 10 points away. I can't see them catching Brentford. So it's just they're running out of options about who they can catch at this point.
Yeah. All right, Sim gets 3 points. I get 0 points in that one. Moving on to Wolves against Crystal Palace, and another slip up at home for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Sim went for 2-0 to Wolves. I went for 1-0 to Wolves at Crystal Palace. 2-0 in a great result at Molineux, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's 3 defeats in a row now for Wolves, amazingly enough. And you got to say, I was watching a lot of it. Palace on the counter-attack absolutely ripped them to shreds. They were opening them up time and time again. Yeah, it was Zaha and Olise, man. They signed him for less than we signed Jack Clark for.
Wow.
That is what good scouting can get you. He is brilliant. He is the real deal from what I saw yesterday. He is fantastic. Like, he's genuinely got he's not just a flash in the pan trickster who flatters to deceive. He's got serious ability about him. Shooting, his long range passing as well is brilliant. I think we've missed a trick here by not going in for him, and we're allowing Palace have an act for that as well, because Eze, before he got a big injury, he looked like signs of showing he was a brilliant player. So it looks like, if Zaha does leave now, it doesn't look like they're as screwed as they would if he would have left a year or 2 ago. Now they look like they got players who can step in. Yeah. And fair play to Palace. It was a really good display, and they deserve the victory. All ends up, but Wolves, I think that top 4. Outside chance of a top 4 that they did have is probably all gone now after 3 consecutive defeats.
Agreed. All right, so 0 points for either of us on that one. Moving on to the Saturday evening game, which was Liverpool against West Ham at Anfield. Finished 1-0. Both of us going 3-0, so 3 points on the board there. But I think it probably should have been more than 1-0 this game. I think Liverpool played really well. Luis Diaz was unbelievable, unlucky not to get a goal. And yeah, just it was pretty much a routine victory for Liverpool, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think the scoreline probably makes it seem like it was closer than it was. I know Lanzini had that chance to make it 1-1, which he scuffed, and he definitely should have scored. But Liverpool were dominant. They should have scored more than the one. It was only a matter of time before they got the goal. And fair play to, I think it was a good win. West Ham with a they won't be too disheartened as it was only 1-0. But when every point counts, it can be a damaging defeat. But what was that for West Ham? They're on not terrible form, but that defeat maybe halts them a bit. But they won't be too disappointed with it.
I mean, look, you got to expect a defeat's going to come when you play this Liverpool side, to be honest. So. I think that West Ham, actually, they did rally quite well late on to try and fight something out of the game. For the most part, though, it was kind of routine for Liverpool. And that Luis Diaz, man.
He's serious talent, man.
He was unbelievable. Anyway, moving on to the Sunday, Watford against Arsenal finished 3-2 to Arsenal on the day. Sim going 1-1. I went 1-0 to Arsenal, so I get a point in there, unfortunately. And this game, I think, was a very close game, in my opinion. I think Watford gave as good as they got on the day. It was just the Arsenal's quality just shone through really by the end of it. I think great goals Arsenal scored with the link-up play with Martinelli, Saka, Odegaard. I thought they looked really good. But on the other side, Watford with some great goals themselves. That overhead kick in the first half from Cucho, and obviously Moussa Sissoko with the late rally as well at the end. And I thought Watford played well enough to get something out of the game, but I think Arsenal's quality just shone through in the end.
That's the thing. I think Watford tried their best and they nearly got something out of it, but they just weren't good enough in the end of the day, were they? I think Arsenal deserved it. I think all three goals were fluid, really good passing moves, and Watford would be very disappointed with the Saka goal, where Cleverley just dawdles on the ball right on the edge of the box, gets tackled, and they went and score. That's probably the goal they'll look at and think that really cost us. But other than that, the other two goals, you just got to put that down to very good Arsenal play. Like Odegaard and Saka were linking up brilliantly. But as you say, Watford had their chances. They got 2 goals, brilliant overhead kick, and Sissoko bundling his way through Ben White to get the second. And
bundling, that was pure skill. Bundling
in the way Sissoko does. And Dennis missing a back post open goal as well, just completely mishitting it, which could have. And I actually think Dennis had a very frustrating day because he did really well, but then whenever it came to the chance to actually shoot or provide that final touch, he just scuffed it or just didn't quite land for him. But like his hold-up play and dribbling ability looks really strong, and he was doing a lot of stuff all by himself, and he was actually causing Arsenal trouble. But whenever it just came to that final moment, he didn't have it on the day, unfortunately for him. But I like Dennis. And honestly, from what I saw, I think we should be interested in him.
Interesting. I think that I'd like to see him have another year in the Premier League before. We've seen these flash in the pan players come before where they have one really good season in the Premier League and then we never see them again. So I would like to see him have one more season in the Premier League, but
it won't be at Watford.
I know, that's the thing. So I think if he does want to leave Watford this season, I would be open to taking him. I would. But anyway, moving on to Manchester derby at the Etihad, finished 4-1 to Manchester City. Both of us going 3-1, and we nearly got the 5 points from a Riyad Mahrez goal right at the death. And this was just one-way traffic for pretty much the entirety. I think Man City, forget Man City, I thought Man United were terrible. I really thought they were, and Man City really took advantage of that.
I thought second half United were atrocious, but first half, I actually think they did quite some very good things, and they were actually in the game. They got a goal, really good goal for Jadon Sancho to equalise, and they were.
That was a really good goal.
Yeah, and they were actually opening them up a few times, a bit like how Spurs were. But the problem is they couldn't keep it up for 90 minutes. I think City changed the way a bit they were playing in the second half, and just it turned into complete domination. United could not get near them, and it just turned into chance after chance, like a trading match in the second half for Man City. And it only seemed a matter of time before they were going to get number 3 and number 4. And United being very disappointed with that. Although first half they put up a fight, and I think they probably went into half-time thinking we're still in this game, but they gave away probably 2 goals they'll be disappointed with giving away, and in the second half they didn't show up, and then that 15-minute period City had 92% possession. It's unheard of, especially in a game of this caliber. Like, that should not be the case, and City again showing how good they can be.
Exactly. All right, and the final game of the weekend, obviously last night, Tottenham against Everton, 5-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Both of us going for 2-1 to Spurs, so a point each for us there in what was a very, very dominant display from Tottenham Hotspur with a lot of big performances out there. But we've covered that game to death, so we'll move on to the star men. I went for Mo Salah, which I get 0 points. Sim went for Harry Kane, which you get 4 points. So,
Come on.
I'm actually happy for Simeon to get the 4 points this week.
Come on.
But it does end in a 319 to 304. So Sim has opened up the gap once again. We'll be back on Thursday or Friday this week for Predict the Prem, where we predict all this weekend's football games. We might actually have a special one for you for the midweek games as well. So keep an eye on that. But thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.